within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
And I think the thing that our offensive line is going to be able to do really well is pass protect. We feel really good about Ronnie Stanley and Roger Rosengarten. I think our guard position is evolving. We feel really, really good about that compared to last year. And obviously centers are kind of a position right now in a state of flux, and we're trying to figure that out. We weren't able to address that in the draft. There are a couple guys that we really liked in the draft at the center position, but the board didn't fall the right way. Fortunately, we have time. We don't play games until September. There will be some opportunities for us between now and then to address the center position, whether that's free agency, the draft, other things, a trade, whatever that might be. There'll be different things that we can do. It didn't work out for us this past weekend, but I think that there may be some potential trades we can look at and some other things we can do to address that position. But overall, we felt really, really strong about the players that we added, and we're excited.
That was Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta yesterday with C4 and Brian Neiman on WBAL. I don't think it's going to be the draft. I don't think that's going to be the answer. And I know that Eric is certainly knows that.
Well, I mean, the other draft. The
supplemental draft?
Yeah.
It's going to be.
When is that one? Is that,
he knows somebody's
doing
getting
that
busted
one this year?
for gambling between now and then. That's going to be an option. Yes.
Yes, the supplemental draft?
Yeah.
So he admits the guard position sucked last year.
Yeah. I'm in a weird spot when we talk about trading for a center because sure, but as I've said before, what team has a center and then just says, "Nah, we're good"? And I'm not saying there isn't one or that a team doesn't have a second center that they're like, well, we think this guy could play center in a pinch, so we don't need to I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think you're specifically looking. I meant to assign this to Griffin this week to look at all of the teams that drafted centers and see who else is on their roster and if there's a team that maybe could release a center or I guess be in the market to trade for a center because they think so highly of the center that they drafted. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I think it's totally plausible, but it also probably should be a significant priority, and it's a difficult spot to be in coming out of the draft where you have such a clear hole on your roster. Good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Started a couple minutes early today because we have a busy show, and the Orioles are playing at 12:30, and I actually need to go to the game.
Oh, nice. Have fun. But games?
I don't think I'm going to stick around for both. We'll see. It's not impossible, but I'm going to be with you between the games over on WBAL, so I hope that you'll come join us there. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we're going to meet Ravens' fifth-round pick, Chandler Rivers, of course, cornerback out of Duke. That part awkward for me, but I'm going to do my best to put it to the side. Who was the offensive lineman they had out of Duke? Matt Skura, right, was out of Duke. I had to put my feelings aside for a bit when he was in Baltimore. Also coming up this morning, we will talk NCAA Tournament as far as lacrosse is concerned and as far as basketball is concerned because we're going to do 76 teams. The wettest of wet farts. Jesus. Patrick Stevens will join us as he does every week. Obviously, a busy week as far as lacrosse is concerned, with it being conference championship weekend and selection Sunday on Sunday night. What does Maryland need to do? Is Hopkins safely got a bye? And then obviously some of the one-bid leagues, Towson, the favorite to win the CAA, Loyola, the 2 seed in the Patriot League. UMBC is actually in the America East tournament, and given everything they've been through this season, that's kind of a miracle. So we'll talk about it all with Patrick. Mike Silver of The Athletic was embedded in the Ravens draft room. He'll join us a bit later in the program. And we'll make a trip to Bowie to chat with Orioles catching prospect Ethan Anderson. All of that coming up on the program today. It was quite the adventure for me yesterday because I think this is the first time in my life that I ever was like legit excited to see that someone was going on the injured list. And I feel bad about that, but admittedly, when I saw that Trevor Rogers was headed to the IL, my first reaction was, oh, well, maybe that explains it. And I hate that I thought that way. Because when you think somebody's hurt, that's a terrible thing to feel. Like, what you really want to feel is, oh, man, that sucks. But I didn't feel that way. I felt like, oh, because I didn't know why he was headed. I just saw Trevor Rogers going to the IL. I'm like, man, if he's got, something going on, that could explain why it's been so rough for the last few weeks. And that would be good news for the Orioles. Yeah, that's not the case. Trevor Rogers was going on the IL with an illness, and we found out today from Craig Albernaz that it's the flu, and apparently it's like so bad that he's been barely able to get off the floor, which is it's terrifying that anyone would have to go on the IL with the flu. Like, that's a terrifying thought that, like, you think they're going to be out for so long that you have to put them on the IL, and I get that it's complicated. And, like, in baseball, if you know somebody's not going to be around even for a few days, you might be compelled to make such a move, even if you know they could be back in, like, 4 or so. But Matt Wyrick of the Baltimore Sun said this morning, Trevor Rogers has the flu. Manager Craig Albernaz says he stayed home the last 2 days throwing up, and the Orioles had to make the call to put him on IL. Albernaz expects him back as soon as the minimum 15 days are up. And, again, you got to think about that. Like, if they thought he was going to miss one start, well, then they're trading off 2 more starts after that, which might speak to how they're feeling about Trevor Rogers at the moment, which is we don't want to manipulate things to make sure he's back as quickly as possible. We kind of think he might also need to reset a little bit, which is a bigger part of the problem. I hope that ends up being a good thing for Trevor Rogers, and that with an extra week or so that he feels good, he builds things back up, and he looks a little bit more like the guy that we saw for his first 3 starts of the season and last year when he comes back. But it is a little alarming in both ways. Both that, like, the flu is so bad that they don't just say, hey, like, Trevor, can you pitch this weekend? Like, you're good? And just say, okay, then we're good. And that even if they thought they couldn't have him this weekend, that they're willing to trade off missing 2 more starts of Trevor Rogers, probably because of where Trevor Rogers is. In the short term, it means that Cameron Foster is back on the roster, and because they're playing a doubleheader today, they needed to add another pitcher. That's going to be Espada, who's back up. Brandon Young was already starting because, obviously, Dean Kramer is on the IL. You would assume that this means that Cade Povich will go back into the rotation for a cut. They don't have an off day next week, so they can't just go with 4 starters. They're going to need a 5th. And so you would assume this means the return of Cade Povich as well. After the way Cade Povich pitched the last time, perhaps you'd be excited about that, but that was, 3 weeks ago at this point? Like, I have no idea if there's any carryover effect from that and what Cade Povich you're going to get. I don't know what Brandon Young you're going to get, but I know that the rotation that was scary deep to start the season is now, at the moment, down to a badly struggling Kyle Bradish, a kind of middle-of-the-road Shane Boz, who definitely was good last time.
He's hot, man. He's hot. He's got his first
definitely
Orioles win.
That's right. Definitely was good last time.
He's red hot.
And Chris Bassett, who
is also
is coming again,
Red
coming
hot.
off a good start. That's where we're at. A streak of one good start is enough for us to be encouraged. So that's where they're at. And that is, thank God for the Orioles bullpen, man. Like, thank God. The Orioles bullpen has been able to shoulder the load a little bit more than we expected coming into the season. So that's the big storyline. Maybe the Lakers are going to fall apart. I don't know what's going on there. I watched a good bit of that.
Well,
game
they had to get Reeves back. You know,
it just
had to
like
get him used to it again.
They looked awful last night. Like,
well, they want to close out on the road. They want.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
They're just really excited about that. That was very weird. Like, very strange how bad they looked last night. And so that series will go back to Houston for Game 6. The Pistons did get that one last night. Did Wagner not play? Is that
I don't know.
I didn't watch
that one. I didn't watch.
Game.
Yeah, because I didn't realize that game was on Prime.
Yeah,
I thought there was only like one game in the 7 o'clock window, and then like in the fourth quarter they popped up the score in the corner, and I was like, what?
Wagner did not play in that game, so they'll go back to Orlando for another chance of the Magic to try to close it out and pull off the upset. And the Cavaliers won Game 5 last night, so they now take a 3-2 lead in that series. And Drew Forrester quite bummed, but if what you do is hate Pittsburgh, and most of us are good. I mean, I don't care at all about the Penguins; they don't do anything for me. But
red-blooded Baltimoreans.
I can't get on board with rooting against Pittsburgh. Like, that always is something that I can appreciate. And so the Penguins were eliminated by the Flyers last night. So that's what's going on. Oh, and Live Golf, I think, is now not like the next official death was today, but apparently that's also still not the actual official death. It's very.
I thought it was dead.
A
year ago. Yeah.
Well, then it was dead 2 weeks ago, and then it was dead today. It's bizarre.
The teams. You want the teams that drafted centers?
No. I want you to.
Okay.
What I want you to do.
Well, I mean, I have the rosters too, so I mean,
it's too much right now. Garrett
Bradbury. Then we can trade for him from the Bears.
Probably not. Probably not.
The Raiders drafted a center. Maybe we could trade for Tyler Linderbaum.
Probably not.
We talked about Ted Karras. They also have Jacob Bayer. I don't know if he's starting. I don't know what he is.
I don't think you're trading for that. Yes.
The Panthers have Luke Fortner. I don't know. Nick Samak, another former Raven.
Who did they draft? The Panthers.
Sam Hecht from Kansas State.
But they drafted him so late that I don't know if they
think
like
that
he'd
have to go in and
right.
be a star.
I don't know about
the Chargers drafted Slaughter. They have Tyler Biotish. So
didn't they just bring
overtakes Biotish?
Didn't they just bring him in? Like,
yes.
It seems unlikely that they would then turn around and
it is a horrible situation for the Ravens, at least in terms of when you zone in on center. It's
not great. Doesn't mean that something doesn't become available. Just nothing obvious at the moment. All right, we had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his schedule coming into Baltimore for a rookie mining camp, but an opportunity to meet another member of the Ravens draft class. Meet our next guest here on GCR. He heard his name called by the Baltimore Ravens in the 5th round on Saturday. You guys know that I'm not much of a Duke fan, but I'm willing to make an exception for this guy. He is new Ravens cornerback Chandler Rivers, and he's with us now here on GCR. Chandler, it's Glenn. It's great to meet you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Chandler, I know that it had to be tough for you because everybody was talking about how you should have gone much earlier in the draft than you ended up going. But watching the video and your emotions and you screaming out "LaMarvelous" afterwards, how much of that goes away, that anxiety, that pain of falling a little bit when you get the phone call and you find out that you're going to be a Baltimore Raven?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I thought I should have went higher in the draft, but I mean, I believe in God, and I feel like everything happens for a reason. And like when I got that call, it was just like a relief, and it was like throughout the whole like draft process, throughout the Zoom meetings and everything, I was just like, if I could choose one place like that I want to be in Baltimore for the reasons that I feel like they just. Like the spot that I'm going to be playing, I feel like I can make an impact for that team. And then they're contenders. And they got a lot of great players on the team. Then the LaMarvelous thing, that's just it's kind of crazy because, like, like a week before, whatever, I was talking to like one of my close friends. And I was like, I was just going through like if I was to get a call like from a few teams, like what I would say and stuff like that. And then Baltimore so happened to be one of the teams, and I said it. And it was just like, because I mean, when I was in eighth grade or ninth grade, he had just got drafted, and he's had a great career up until this point, and it's just like, I mean, he's a global phenom, honestly. Like he's just that. So it feels good to be a part of his team now.
We on this show we both do a lot of play-by-play, and so LaMarvelous is a pretty darn good play-by-play call. For those that haven't seen it, Griffin, can you just play the clip where he yells out? Because I think it was awesome, and I think Ravens fans are immediately endeared to you in that moment, Chandler, because we've all said something similar in our days.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, baby.
That's so real, dude. That's so real. What an awesome feeling. Chandler, it's interesting you saying that, right? Like, did you have a sense that it was going to be Baltimore? Like, as you were going through the process, when you say that was where you wanted to be, like, was it just the realities of what you laid out? Like, I get it. You would have been excited if the Cleveland Browns draft you. It's the greatest day of your life. I understand that. But what you laid out makes sense, right? Like, it's an organization like the Ravens that just has inherent advantages. Did you get the feeling leading up to the draft that that might be the direction?
I had a feeling with like a few teams. It was probably like three or four teams that I had a feeling I was gonna go to, and it was just like I feel like the best situation for me would have been Baltimore, honestly. And then just it was a whole lot of like me and my friends talked about it like after the draft. It was a whole lot of foreshadowing because we watched the draft Friday, expecting to get my name called, and I wore a purple jumpsuit. And then the morning of that Saturday, my grandmother, she actually went to the store and got a purple shirt before the draft even started. And then, as you can see in the video, a lot of my family members had on purple shirts. So I feel like it was a lot of foreshadowing. It was meant to be. So that's
Man,
pretty cool.
man, look at how all that worked out. That is so great. Chandler Rivers with us here on GCR. Chandler, in getting to Baltimore, obviously you get to connect with someone that you know pretty well, and I know you guys are already hitting each other up on social media, but Fub, who of course ended up finishing somewhere else, Aeneas Peebles, what was that relationship like for you, and how close were you guys? How special was it to realize that you guys are going to be together again in Baltimore?
Yeah, like going back to our Duke days, like Fov, he was like a big brother to me. Like he everything I needed, he was always there for me. He kind of like got me into like this college football life, and it was like whenever he left, a lot of people don't know this, but whenever he left, I actually like called him like crying. I was like, "No, don't leave, like stay," because I was like, that's kind of relationship me and Fub has. And I was like, I'm like 2, 3 years younger than him, and it's just like he's like a big brother to me. Like every time I need him, I can hit him up, regardless of if he was at VTech or even now. Like we talk damn near every day up until this point for like the past 2 years. So I mean, that's just he's like a big brother to me, honestly. So
Man.
that's feels good to be able to play with him again.
Dude, how special is that? Like, hey, look, man, I'm not saying you're not ready for this jump, but like to be able to have someone like that in your corner to help you in making this jump, that's got to be surreal.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
That's so cool, man. How do you go your entire college career without missing a game? Do you have like some sort of secret like potion that you take that has managed to keep you on the field? Is it something that maybe you're superstitious about? You don't really like talking about all that much? How is that possible, Chandler?
Nah, I just feel like I take care of my body like at a high level, honestly. And then I mean, all of it's really God. Like anything can happen in the game of football. It's an aggressive sport. Anything can happen any play. And I mean, I feel like God, honestly.
Do you when you say you take care of your body? We're of course in Baltimore, where Derrick Henry like is an insane human being and doesn't eat anything that isn't like plain kale.
Yeah.
And like, do you take care of your body like that? Are you like that insane about it?
I wouldn't say to that extent. I haven't got there yet. I'm still on the younger side, so I can eat certain things. But I mean, as far as like recovery, like ice, cold tubs and stuff, all of that stuff, like massages, I take care of my body well on that level.
I appreciate that about you. I know you were playing outside mostly in college. A lot of the talk about you leading up to the draft was seeing what you did like at your pro day and the lead up on the inside, and a lot of people were talking like this might be one of the best nickel corners in the draft. I know the answer to the question is I'm going to do whatever it is the team asks me to do. Like, I understand that's the way it works, but how comfortable are you with the idea of if that opportunity is on the inside, with that being something that you can do despite it not necessarily being what you were playing primarily in college?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like the answer is always going to be like I want to be wherever the team needs me to be at. But I feel like a lot of people like fail to realize that like I actually want to play in the slot. Like I feel like when you watch my film, a lot of my plays come when I was playing in the slot. Like of course on the outside I got a few plays there, but a lot of like my action, like my blitzing, all of that, catching interceptions come from playing in the slot. And I feel like I could take that to the next level, especially getting reps at that 100% of the time.
I,
Like
it's interesting you say that because some of the things that jumped out at me is like you're not afraid of tackling.
yeah.
Like where did that come from for you? I'm not trying to say that all corners are afraid to tackle. I'm not trying to make it seem like that, but you know that even some of like the greatest cornerbacks of all time, like maybe one that coaches out of Colorado, weren't necessarily a big fan of tackling.
Yeah, I mean, I just say that's just how I was brought into the game, honestly. Like, my dad's been my coach all my life, and you got to be able to tackle to be on the field. And every team I've been a part of, you got to be able to tackle to be on the field, and that's how you going guess how you gonna get on the field, honestly. So I take pride in that because it's part of the game, and I feel like I play the game 110% all the time. I give my all. So if I'm in position to make the tackle, I expect to make the tackle. So that's just my mindset.
Man, and you can make plays in the backfield. I feel like are you more excited about a pick or like leveling someone and getting a lick in the backfield?
I would say I play defensive back, so pick is probably
I
like
guess that. Yeah.
that's the play.
I guess that's got to be the answer. I guess that's got to be the way it goes. Your path to Duke, right, is interesting for me. Like a Texas kid.
Yeah.
How do you and look, obviously Duke's really good. You guys just won the ACC last year. Like I'm not trying to disparage Duke in any way, but you're from the state that's like the capital of football. How does a Texas kid end up at Duke?
Yeah, like coming out of high school, I was a 3-star, but I had like SEC offers that people consider like the SEC, the big bad SEC and stuff like that. So I had offers to go other places, but honestly, I just chose Duke because I come from an academic family, and so like I knew what I was gonna get out of them academically, and then athletically, I wanted to have a chance to play as a true freshman. Like I didn't want to have to wait on behind like a vet or anything like that. I wanted the opportunity or be able to compete to play as a true freshman. I feel like Duke gave me that best opportunity, honestly, and so that's why we went with Duke, and then we made the best of that situation. We got there was the most winningest class and everything. So
I really thought that maybe the academics had something to do with it because I saw you were a cultural anthropology major. And when
yeah.
I tell you that I'm so dumb, I don't even know what cultural anthropology is. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Can you explain why that was your path and, like, why? I know right now it's football. Like, I understand that. But, like, how that might be something that you could still use at some point in your life.
Yeah, like when I first got to Duke, I didn't know what cultural anthropology was because I wanted to be like a business major or like something to do on the money side of things. That's what I wanted to major in. But like I really got into it because a lot of my classes were under that cultural anthropology like topic and stuff. And so I like to explain it as like a mixture of sociology and psychology, like basically like the study of people, honestly, in a more in-depth version of it. So
Okay.
that's the easiest way I can explain it for everybody to understand it. So like that's really why I chose that. And then like my minor was sociology, and then I got a certificate in markets and management studies. But really how I plan to use that was really just to understand people more because I want to get into like real estate and like that I want to get into that field, honestly, and I feel like that was gonna be good for me. And then the markets and management was just so I can understand the money side of things. So
That's
that's how
cool.
I plan on using it, honestly.
Maybe you're gonna laugh at this and say like, "Nah, that's a reach." But like, is there any part of that can help you in like watching film and like the guys that you're going up against and seeing anything about them that maybe you have maybe a greater understanding that you can take with you onto the football field?
Honestly, I don't know. I have to get back with you on that.
I mean, like,
thought
I
of it
get
in
it.
that way.
It felt like a reach as I was thinking through.
I never really thought of it in that way, but I probably can, honestly. I don't know.
Right? Like, bro, I know more about you than you know about you. Like, I know what you're going to be doing before you even know what you're going to be doing. That feels like it could be a huge advantage. I just realized that, like, you look good in the hat, bro. Like, you look real good.
I
And
haven't took it off since they called me.
right. I mean, what I do want to dumb it down a little bit. Like, what does it mean to you? Like, to realize that this is real now. And I get it that, like, maybe it gets more real when you show up at the facility and get the mini camp and, get to playing games. But wearing that hat and being able to tell people I'm a Baltimore Raven, like,
Yeah.
how real is that? And what does it mean to you that you get to do that now?
I mean, it's amazing because it's not like Baltimore is like a known brand around like the country. So it's like I don't know how to explain the feeling. It's just like, dang, I'm a Baltimore Raven now. Like, of course I got to go up there and earn my stripes, earn my spot, and everything like that. But like as of right now, I'm a Baltimore Raven. It feels amazing, honestly. Like
That's
I
so
don't
cool.
know how to explain it.
It's interesting you bring that up, right? Because like if there's one downside of slipping a little bit, it's that like nothing's guaranteed, right? Like that, there's not the same investment maybe. How much do you say, okay, cool? Like I want to go earn mine. Like I'm good with that, and I'm gonna prove to people why they should have been calling my name on Friday nights.
Yeah, I mean that's just really the story of my whole life. Like I've always been like the underdog, the underhyped player. And I mean, that's nothing new to me. Like the situation is not new to me at all. Everywhere I've been in my career, I've had to earn my keeps. So I mean, I just stay with that mindset, honestly. It never slips. So
Are you the type that's gonna remember like all the teams that drafted a cornerback when you were on the board, and like you might think about that at some point in the future?
nah,
Okay.
I don't even like the right team got me. That's all that matters at the
That's
end of
awesome, man.
the day.
That's
Yeah, it ain't
awesome.
that deep to me.
That's such a great perspective, dude.
Yeah.
Chandler, what else should we know about you? Like away from football, what else are you into? Like when you have a Friday night, what might we catch you doing? Like what makes you tick other than playing football?
I mean, honestly, I just like hanging out with friends and family, honestly, because I'm an introverted person.
Okay.
I like hanging out with friends and family, whether that's going golfing. I'm not good at golf, but like whatever it is that like my friends or my family want to do, like I'm cool with doing that. Like we done got into bowling a lot lately, and then I've been going to escape rooms
Oh,
lately.
that's cool.
Like I still haven't got out of one, but I've been going to a lot of escape rooms. So like that's just some cool
Wait a
thing.
second. You're a Duke grad. Like you're the exact person I'd want on my team in an escape room.
Nah, it'll be like two of us in like the hardest escape room, and they'd be like, "It's best you come in with like six people," but we only be two of us, and we never finish. So I did like four or five of them so far. I haven't finished yet.
We'll
So
have to make that a challenge for when you get here. We
yeah,
gotta
I for
get.
sure got to finish one before it's all said and done.
We'll try to work into maybe coming up with a partnership to get you out to
Yeah,
one.
we got to complete one.
Try to change that, man. I dig that. That's cool. Now you say you're an introvert. Does that change when you're on the field? Like, are you at all a trash talker when you're on the field?
Yeah, I'm a totally different person on the
Okay.
field.
All right.
'Cause that's safe space. Like that's where I can just let myself be myself.
That's
So
cool. Let the inner psycho out when the.
yeah, that's what I can do.
I dig that, man. Chandler, where can Ravens fans be giving you a follow on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, Instagram, Chandler Rivers 2, Twitter _Chandler Rivers. So
Man, your emotions still like I mean we're 4 days later. Like your
yeah,
emotions, it's still so cool to see the smile on your face and hear the way you're talking about it. And we can't wait to have you up here, man, and get to know you more.
yes, sir.
Chandler, congratulations on being a Raven. Looking forward to meeting you, and thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Chandler Rivers, new Baltimore Ravens cornerback, 5th-round pick out of Duke. Appreciate him taking the time for us. Today's show is brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is available for free at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Anywhere around town where you find Press Box, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Bill Ordean's got a great cover story about the future of the Preakness, both this year at Laurel and then moving forward. And a lot of other great content in there, some college football catch-ups around the area here in the spring. Go pick that up right now, that print issue of Press Box, free at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Anywhere around town where you find Press Box or read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. All right, let's switch gears. And we also had to do this a little bit earlier on today because of his schedule and headed up to New Jersey for the Big Ten tournament. But let's talk a little lacrosse and college basketball, as we do every week, with our friend Patrick Stevens right here on GCR. Well, every week we like to catch up, talk some college sports with our friend, Mr. Patrick Stevens, USA Lacrosse Magazine. At Discourse is how you follow him, D1S Course. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am well, Glenn, and you?
Oh, I'm all right. You know, just like everyone asked for, the one thing that you love in sports is when they do what it is that the fans demand, and we all wanted a nonsensical addition of 8 more teams to the NCAA tournament, and we've got it. You got to give credit where credit's due. An amazing job done by everyone in the NCAA.
Yeah, and just imagine if it was a year earlier, Bruce Pearl wouldn't have had anything to complain about.
You'll be stunned to learn that Seth Greenberg thinks it's a great idea.
Well, Seth Greenberg might still be coaching if they had gone to 76 while he was still at Virginia Tech. But I think when you look at this, so there's all sorts of strands you can pull out here. First, let's talk about the obvious. Like, they did it for the money, right? Like, they're going to be able to sell off. And I've read a few stories on this. I haven't been reporting it on my own, but that there's going to be extra money that they can probably make off of TV, extra money that they can make off of sponsorship, all this other stuff, right? So they did it for the money. Let's not pretend that it was done for any other reason.
Mm-hmm.
You can gussy it up and say that, oh, well, it's about more opportunities and all this stuff. I mean, come on. And there's probably a little bit of capitulating to pressure from power conferences who are going to end up with the lion's share of these bids anyway. So let's dig into some other elements of this, right? Like, the obvious sort of, common person, casual fan thing is you have a bracket, right? And you fill out the bracket. And one of the things that has fueled the popularity and the growth of college basketball, postseason anyway, has been people fill out their brackets and they pay attention and all this stuff. Well, now, even with 4 games, you could just sort of like, okay, whatever. It's a little harder to ignore 12 different games than 4 different games. Maybe you can. I don't know how that stuff works. You know me, I'm not entering any bracket pools or anything, but that's sort of the, how does this impact the casual fan as much as anything else? I think another element of this that probably isn't getting talked about enough is, you have so much talk in February, especially after the Super Bowl ends and those casuals start paying attention, and into March about, well, who are the teams that are the last few in and all that. And, historically, you've been talking about largely decent teams. And the way that, the championship week works is because you start getting bid thieves, the edge of the field gets better, basically, because you're getting worse teams squeezed out. How much conversation do you think there would have been over whether, I don't know, Stanford or Oklahoma State deserved the last spot in the field this past year?
I mean,
I just wonder how much genuine excitement there would be on that. Like, how much would there have been talk about an SMU? Suddenly, like the kids, the BJ Edwards kid injury, it doesn't matter because they've got an extra 8 spots between them and the edge of the field. Is that something that you lose or that gets diminished? I think it probably does, because in the not too distant future, you'd be talking about like 500 teams that are sitting there. I don't even think, unlike in lacrosse, I don't think there's a specific thing that says you can't take a sub 500 team as an at-large. Maybe that's something that I'm not aware of. It certainly hasn't mattered, right? Like, I mean, Auburn at 1 over 500 felt like it was a bridge too far this year. So that's something that I'm curious about. There's obviously the element of, well, who is going to be excited about these games and all that? Well, somebody in Vegas will be excited about these games, or somebody with an app on their phone. But I'm not sure there's a whole lot of appetite for these extra games that basically are. How much appetite was there for the college basketball crown?
Yeah, none. Zero.
Right?
Negative,
I
would argue.
We're
yes.
dropping those sorts of games in.
Yep.
So, I'm not enthused. I don't think it's the absolute end of things, but it's not a great thing.
What you brought up about the bracket is the thing I keep coming back to, Patrick. By the way, I can confirm that they do have you must, for an at-large bid, you have to have an overall record of 500 or better.
Okay.
But what you brought up about the bracket is the part that jumps out to me, and I don't know if there's a way to reconfigure the calendar to, like, knock out a round of getting it down to 64. So there are 3 days for Americans to fill out a bracket, but given the way this has worked, I don't think the conferences are budging off that weekend for the tournaments, and I don't think the NCAA tournament wants to start the tournament on a day other than Thursday. So I do think that that's going to be a negative. I don't know how tangible it is, but I do think it's a negative they're not going to think about. But they don't care about those things, and so I'm just yelling into a void. And instead,
and you know, like you're talking about triple headers on 2 days at 2 sites, right? So Dayton, and you know, we've talked about the whole Western Dayton, right? Like I know I brought that up with you before.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, my argument is that Albuquerque would be great. It kind of matches that. The one thing I thought about later that maybe works against that is, do you want to send a bunch of players to altitude for a quick game and then take them out of altitude and go play someplace else? I mean, that's 5,300 feet up. So maybe you'd be looking at Tulsa, perhaps. Thinking of a city that would match that sort of Dayton quality.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Play it at the Sanford Pentagon.
I mean, that doesn't seem like an outlandish possibility geographically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but regardless, I think another element of this is we've already gotten to the point where those power conference tournaments are basically done for corporate sponsors, and there's not much else point to it. But imagine now that your most important conference tournament games could very well be like Tuesday. The 11-14.
Right.
Like it doesn't really matter what the 5 seed does in the ACC tournament, but that 11-14 game might be the ticket that the 11 seed needs to get a real 11 seed in the NCAA tournament.
God, yeah, very exciting, very, very exciting. Patrick Stevens with us here on GCR. All right, Patrick, I know you are headed to the Big Ten tournament. What is actually at stake, not just in the Big Ten tournament, but other than, and we'll get to like the Patriot League and the one-bid leagues, but what is actually at stake as far as at-larges and seeding are concerned going into Selection Sunday?
So I think you're probably looking at the top 5 seeds in some order already being kind of established. I think Notre Dame, Carolina, Princeton, Syracuse, and Richmond, assuming it wins the A-10, are probably going to be your top 5. And maybe Cornell and maybe Hopkins would have a chance to crack that. And I think those 7 teams in general are the teams that are going to be in the field for sure. For the tournaments that actually have some sort of impact on the field itself, the at-large field, I should say, you know, I think Virginia is in okay shape at this point, but if they went and beat Notre Dame tomorrow, I think they're pretty much safely in. I think in the Big Ten, Michigan has to win it all. Hopkins probably locks in a home game if it beats Michigan later today. And that Maryland-Penn State game, I don't know if it's you would necessarily call it a play-in game, but you know the losers I think is going to be in really rough shape. In the A-10 tournament, you know, it's basically, does Richmond win it? And if it does, it's a 1-bid league. If it doesn't, it's a 2-bid league with either High Point or St. Joe's or UMass taking the other spot. And then in the Ivy League tomorrow, if Cornell and Princeton advance, that leaves both Yale and Harvard. And I think Yale's probably they're both in comparable shape. Like they're both 9-4. Yale has a head-to-head. Harvard has a single better win. They beat Syracuse, but Yale also went ahead and knocked off Cornell earlier in the season. So you look at that, and that Ivy tournament tomorrow, I think, has the greatest intrigue there, where if both Harvard and Yale are sidelines, you know, I think we could be in a situation where we have a pretty good idea of what the actual full field looks like come tomorrow night, just with, you know, pick out who your CAA champion is, pick out who your NEC champion is, et cetera. So those are, I think, are the four leagues: the A10, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Ivy, where most of the work is going to be done in terms of sorting out what the at-larges are.
You referenced Maryland Penn State later today potentially being a playing game, but we talked about this before. If Maryland were to win and then let's just say hypothetically beat Johns Hopkins for the title, is there still some world where Maryland's at home next weekend?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, they're 10th in the RPI right now. They have a head-to-head over Virginia. If Virginia gets knocked out quickly, I mean, I think they would hopscotch Virginia. And then you had the interesting thing that happened last weekend. Duke went from 16th to 8th in the RPI, but by beating North Carolina, which I think tells you everything you need to know about the RPI, that this deep in the season, you can basically pick up 10% of the entire, jump over 10% of the country just by winning one game. So Duke sitting there, RPI of 8, strength of schedule of 14, only one top 20 win, and they're done. They're not in the ACC tournament. I have a hard time believing the Blue Devils would get a home game with that profile. So a Big Ten champion Maryland, yeah, I think there's a decent chance that they're at home, possibly playing a Duke or a Virginia in that first round, in what would obviously be kind of a blockbuster matchup, at least in terms of branding anyway.
There's no doubt about that. Let's go to the one-bid leagues. Towson, it seems like this everything shapes up. They should be on cruise control going into the CAA tournament. Is there any threat other than if they just sort of, for whatever reason, don't show up for one of these games?
Yeah, I mean, I think Drexel's okay. And when you go back and you look at I was at their game against Drexel last month, and Towson played great early, jumped to a big lead, and I thought Drexel played well the rest of the way. But when you look at the scores, right, 13-10, 14-10, 15-10, 21-5, 12-5, and 20-3, those are Towson's margins in CAA play. Now, I think you're going to need either one of those teams to play the game of their lives, or Towson to just, for whatever reason, just have a really poor performance at the wrong time. I think Towson is as clear-cut a favorite as there is in any league tournament, with the possible exception of Albany in the America East.
Just because you bring up the America East, I guess we should at least acknowledge that UMBC is playing. We probably haven't talked at all about UMBC because, my God, it's been maybe the most bizarre season in the history, well, at least since Duke some 20 years ago. But they're playing, and I guess we need to at least acknowledge as much.
Yeah, they have played under interim coach Craig Chick all season. Ryan Moran, the longtime coach there, had been on leave and then was fired. And something tells me that the lawyers aren't done with that one yet. But UMBC, to its credit, was in a spot where this thing easily could have tailspinned on them over the course of the spring. They lost 6 of their first 7, and now since that loss to Albany last month, they've ripped off 5 in a row. They're playing well, and they get another shot at Albany. That's a tough ask tonight up there, but that is certainly an opportunity for the Retrievers to maybe make one of those surprise runs like they did back in 2019 when they were able to get into a play-in game, win a game, and then go up to Penn State for the first round.
And then the Patriot League plays tomorrow, and I know it was kind of a crazy quarterfinal round. Loyola got a gutty win over Navy last week in order to get the bye. It's not going to be easy. The Ass to potentially have to go beat Army at Army on Sunday, but that's what's in front of them, I guess.
Yeah, and they obviously have something to take care of before that in Colgate,
right?
Which is a team that, because it's interesting. A team in the Patriot League is probably better equipped to deal with Colgate than a team outside the Patriot League. Colgate, a team that does a lot of 10-man riding. A lot of it, right? So, because of that and because of the unpredictability that injects into that game, like, you could see a lot of different outcomes. You could see Colgate winning by a lot. You could see Loyola pouncing early and winning by a lot, kind of like what they did to Boston University, another team that does a lot of 10-man riding. So, I think if they do get a second shot at Army, certainly an interesting game. I think it would be a better game than the one that they played a couple weeks back at Ridley. But at the same time, I think Army is the most complete team in that league, and they've shown it here over the last month or so.
I think there's no doubt about that. All right, let's play our game, and I'm only going to go 2 names, and we'll see, because the first one, I acknowledge, I had no idea that he was still pitching. I can't believe how many teams he has pitched for, but we'll see how this goes. The number is 9 for Jose Quintana.
Jose Quintana has pitched for 9 teams?
Yeah. Your reaction, the same as mine.
Okay, wow. Okay, well, let me get 4 out of the way that I absolutely know, okay? He was a White Sox?
Most certainly.
He was a Cub.
Of course.
He was a Pirate, right?
He was a Pirate. I did not remember that one.
Okay, he was a Brewer.
He was a Brewer.
He was a Met, correct?
He was a Met. Now you've gotten all of the multi-year stops out of the way.
Okay.
You have 4 1-year and, let's be honest, less than 1-year stops, including his current.
Okay. Was he an Angel for a second?
He was an Angel. Shut up.
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't know where he is now.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So, okay.
Griffin does somehow. This is bizarre.
Okay, so I really don't know these, so I'm just we're gonna do some dart throws
all right,
here.
3 on the table.
All right, we're gonna dart throw at Colorado.
That's where he is currently.
That was kind of my guess. When you said that you didn't know either, I figured it didn't hurt to try. Nobody paid any attention.
God, that's funny.
Okay, so I'll throw a dart at Kansas City.
Oh, close.
So he was in St. Louis?
St. Louis. 8 out of 9. 8 out of 9. The only one that's missing was the Giants in 2021, where he made 5 legendary bullpen appearances.
Okay, I can't say I remember that.
I don't remember it remotely. Not whatsoever. Boy, I was going to give you a Hall of Famer to follow up on, but you just went 8 for 9 on Jose Quintana. So how about instead we follow it up with someone who I thought was going to be a star for a moment. There were 3 teams for 2-time All-Star Scott Cooper.
Scott Cooper was definitely a Red Sox.
Of course.
Pretty sure he was a Royal.
He was a Royal.
Was he in St. Louis?
3 for 3. God damn, that's unbelievable. Are you Big Ten all weekend?
No, I'll be at Towson on Saturday.
All right, very good. At Discourse, D1S Course, that's where you follow him on Blue Sky and Twitter. And
I'm not sure which is more impressive, 8 for 8 on Heathcliff Slocum or 3 for 3 on
Scott Cooper. On Scott Cooper. God. USA.
I was really guessing on that last one.
That's
I was
insane.
guessing at the end with the Cardinals twice today. Maybe the Cardinals.
That should be the new Dodgers, right? Exactly right. USA Lacrosse Magazine, check them out there. Patrick, we'll talk about the field next week. Always appreciate you, sir. Thanks for doing it. When we come back in, we will chat with Orioles top catching prospect Ethan Anderson as we head to Bowie. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Your car is more than just a ride. It's an investment. At Leading Edge Auto Body in Mount Washington, we've spent over 20 years perfecting the art of repair. From high-end imports to your trusted daily driver, we handle all makes and models with elite precision. Our team holds the highest honors in the industry, including ASE Master, iCar Platinum, and specialized aluminum certifications. We make it easy with free towing, pickup, and delivery, because at Leading Edge, customer satisfaction comes first. And remember, with insurance, it's your car and it's your choice. Choose the experts. Leading Edge Auto Body. Quality you can see. Service you can trust. Go to leadingedgeautobody.com today.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
This is Byron Warnken. If you've been injured in Maryland, you know you need a great lawyer. Look no further than us, Warnken LLC. You've seen my picture on billboards around town. You've seen me on TV. Now I'm lucky enough to get to be here with Stan. Please give us a call. 443-RESULTS. It is not just a phone number, it's a mission. 443-RESULTS. Or visit us online at warnkenlaw.com. That's WARNKENLAW.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
We continue along here on a Thursday edition of GCR, getting ready for a doubleheader between the Orioles and the Astros today. Let's head down to the farm and make a trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Chesapeake Baysox. And our next guest is off to a very hot start to the season, in which he's hitting .317, OPSing .855 through his first 17 games. It's a pleasure to welcome in Orioles catching prospect Ethan Anderson to GCR. Ethan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you again, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Hey, Glenn. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely, dude. Ethan, I know a year ago, when I look at the numbers, I would assume that you're probably a little bit disappointed, but I also know it's complicated. First year, full year of pro ball, making adjustments. Can you walk me through, were you frustrated with that first full season? And if so, what did you do this offseason that clearly is paying off to start the year?
Yeah, I think that first full year of pro ball is just a big year of learning a lot. It's the same game you played from T-ball to high school, college, but playing it every single day for, the 132, 142 games that we play a year, and kind of understanding the amount of toll it takes on your body and the kind of the mental game that goes with it. It's a lot of learning, which, I look back at that year and how much I learned from taking care of my body to how to handle day by day. And I dealt with some injuries, dealt with some problems, but I was luckily was invited to the Arizona Fall League, went out there, had a great time out in Arizona, got to meet a bunch of new people, talk with different coaches from Orioles, different players, learned a lot out there, carried it into the off season, and had a good start to pro ball and just kind of trying to continue with the success this year.
It was interesting to me too. You mentioned the Fall League, obviously, but then getting the invite to big league camp, and I saw the conversation that you had on Masson recently about spending time specifically with Craig Albernaz, and this story that you had apparently watched videos of him working with other catchers in the past. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, with his time in San Francisco, a guy that I'm sure a lot of catchers look up to is Patrick Bailey and what he's kind of done with the position behind the plate. Kind of before Bailey was kind of labeled as the best catcher in baseball, I think he was still in the minors in AAA, and no one really saw him as he is now. But looking back at those videos with him and Albie doing catching, I think they have maybe 10 videos on YouTube.
Wow.
And, looking at those videos when I was in high school and then being able to sit down and chat with him in spring training kind of asking them questions of kind of what went into that. They're wearing masks because of COVID. But it was really cool to see those videos when I was younger and then being able to chat with him in person.
We kind of talked about him as like a catcher whisperer. Kurt Cavalli was really telling me about that. But like, what did you take from that time that you spent with him down in Florida? Was there anything in particular that you picked up that maybe changed your approach going into the season behind the plate?
Yeah, he's he's a great mind of baseball. Him coming with a catching background, he really kind of showed me the kind of young man rules of baseball, especially being one of the younger guys in big league spring training, of kind of how to interact with the guys, how to go about my business. A new hire, Joe Singley, the catching coach on the major league level, and he really helped with my development behind the plate, and being able to work with him, being around Basayo, Adley, and the other catchers that were there was I learned a lot from those guys, and being around them and seeing how they went about their business.
That's really cool, man. Is there anything in particular that like you find did you explore anything new, just framing the way that you position yourself, anything that you picked up from any of those guys that maybe you're kind of experimenting with this year?
Yeah, setups have been a little different.
Okay.
I think when I was in college, I caught a little bit my first 2 years in the fall, and that was back when catching was on 2 feet. Framing wasn't really that big of a part of the game. And when I came back to catching my junior year, everything goes to one knee, everything's glove loading to the ground. And so my first kind of year in pro ball is just trying to figure out what setups, posture, thought processes, movements is going to put me in the best success. And so it's a lot of trial and error of just, hey, let's try this out this day. Let's try this. So I went into spring training this year with, right knee down, left knee down setups. And something that Sigley put out is, if I try this kind of right knee down kickstand out, I put my body in a better position to be successful on every pitch. And so that's something I'm trying out this year. Looking at video between the years, you can see my setup's a little different. Allows me to put myself in better positions to use the ground while receiving the ball. I feel better blocking and throwing down to second, down to third.
I'm glad to hear. So, yeah, of course, obviously, I don't have access to the same data, so I was really afraid that you're going to follow that up by saying, and I'm not sure it's working, so I'm getting rid of it. But I'm glad that that's been the case for you, that you've been feeling good about it, and it's working out. We're chatting with Ethan Anderson from the Baysox. He's with us here on GCR. Ethan, I got to get to the important stuff with you. The history of your facial hair experimentation, because I dug in on this a little bit. I saw that in college it was at times just mustache for you, and I know you've kind of gone like mustache and like 5 o'clock shadow, mustache and beard. Where are you at today, and how committed are you, and how much might it relate to like the success that you're currently having, if that's the case?
Yeah, I do tie my facial hair to results.
I don't blame you.
Which it's gone back since high school. I was able to grow facial hair in high school.
Look at show off over here. It's like he's clearly speaking to me, 42-year-old man who still can't grow decent facial hair at all. It feels like maybe you're rubbing it in a little bit, Ethan.
I'll test around to see what's going, what's working. I've rocked goatees. Freshman year in high school or in college, I think I messed around with a beard. I clean shaved. I think I rocked a full beard my sophomore year, and then I tried out the mustache my junior year. But it's something that if some balls aren't finding grass, and I'll just switch up the mojo and try to shave it off, go to a mustache. I rocked a mustache out in the fall league. I think it's something fun. It's something to change things up. This year, I just kind of going with the beard because every single time I shave, people don't recognize me, and people tell me I don't look as good. And every single time I shave, it's almost everyone tells me never to shave again. So I'm gonna try to keep the beard. I got a haircut last week, and the guy did a great job. He also lined up my beard. So we'll let it grow. Trying to grow the hair out, the beard out for the rest of the season, but we'll see what happens. It might be gone next week. You never know.
Well, okay, so what is it like one game can make you make that decision? Does it have to be like an 0 for 12 or something like that? Like, what is it? What is the time frame by which it goes from, hey, it's one day, I'm not worried about it, to, no, I got to do something different?
Yeah, I would say it's probably going to be a week.
Okay.
Of a little frustration. One day is nothing. You can just be unlucky for one day.
Of course.
Even then, like at a week, I think there has to be something where it's, maybe there's an actual change I need to make, but the facial hair will give me like a different identity where it's like, yeah, I made this change. I'm showing it off with the facial hair. I'm going with a different look. I think that's kind of the thought process behind it.
Does it also help with the monotony of a baseball season? Like, I know this is a dumb thing, but I don't think people fully understand it. Like, you're doing the same thing every day. Does it help to just have something else that you can mix up a little bit just to break up that monotony?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the thought process behind it. Is a lot of our days kind of look the same.
Yeah.
You get stuck in your routines. You're doing the same thing. You have your BP, you have your lifts. You're taking ground balls. You're receiving behind the plate. Where kind of that switch up in the routine, and when you look in the mirror, you're seeing something different, and you kind of feel like a different identity. I think is kind of what I see when I do it.
Makes all the sense in the world. That's what gives the boys something else to talk about, right? Like when you get there,
Yeah.
like they're like, oh, yeah.
I'm always trying to get guys along with me. I got guys on the team that I'll constantly trying to get them to grow a beard out, and it maybe lasts a couple days, and they get like a 5 o'clock shadow, and then they get rid of it, and I have no idea what they're doing. But I try to get some of the guys to go along with it.
Who is the one that frustrates you the most because they're just going to do whatever their girlfriend or wife says, and you can't get them to go along with it?
It's got to be my roommate Griff.
Yeah.
O'Farrell, since college, I've been trying to get him to grow a beard out since college, and he says I can't grow one, and he'll let it go for a couple days. I'm like, you have facial hair, man. Like you gotta
just give it a shot, right?
I gotta see it.
Yeah.
But he is always socks up or pants up, high socks, and clean shaven. I'm like, all right, let's bring the pants down. Let's grow a beard out. Let's see how it does. But he always trims it up. Always goes to the high pants. I can never get him to do it.
That's so disappointing to me, right? Like, come on, mix it up, man. Like, what are we doing here? What's the point of being young if you're not going to mix it up? Like, when I was your age, the boys and I would be like, let's just go dye our hair platinum for no reason whatsoever. Walk around just to mix it up, right? Give people something to talk about. Come on, Griff. It's funny because Griff told me last year that you guys are basically like a married couple. And like the way that you bicker, and I can't believe that he's not willing to do that for you.
I know, but I respect him. He has his look. He goes about his business that way. I think he'll eventually do it. The season's super long, and hopefully we play for a long time where I can get him to wear his pants down at least one game.
We got to make this happen somehow. You got to make this happen. Have you ever guys ever talked about like how weird it would be if you get somewhere and you're not at the same level together, and you're not able to be roommates and be around each other? Like, have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, there was a brief stint last year where we were at two different levels, and I think it was only 2 weeks. But talking with the training staff and other players, it's like it's weird not being on the same team,
I believe it.
having a different roommate, and we're just calling each other every other night.
It's just.
But he eventually we got to the same level again. It's like, and I think I hit a home run the first day. We were put back, and I'm like, all right, you have to stay here.
Yeah, no
like,
doubt. Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That is so cool. What a cool friendship. That's great. The Baysox are back home next week as they'll be taking on Altoona down at Prince George's County Stadium. Opportunity for you to get down there. A lot of great events, as always, going on next week. Including a Kids Run the Bases weekends and a Mother's Day celebration. So make sure you check all of that out as the Baysox get home. Ethan, what else you been into? Like, give me the, you get a little bit of downtime, you get a Monday off. What is it that you've been into this season?
I love golf. So
Yeah.
a lot of the off days, just trying to get out there. It's a little challenging because sometimes we're traveling on the off days. Like this week, we had to travel up here to Erie, so I can't golf on the bus. But going visiting some golf courses in the Bowie, Baltimore area.
Do you have one that you've been? Do you try to play a different course every time, or do you have like one that like I just want to be able to? I want to get used to it so I can shoot the best possible score there moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's I'm still fairly new to the area, and so just trying out as many new ones as I can. Just trying to see what's out there. There's a ton of golf courses in the area, and so just kind of going out there, testing each one, kind of seeing the conditions, seeing how well the golf course likes me when I hit the ball, and if it goes in the hole or not. And it's something that we've gotten into. A couple guys on the team is bowling.
Oh, that's cool.
They'll get competitive. We don't really know how to spin the ball, or I don't. But it's fun to go to a bowling alley and just compete with the guys.
Do you ever just do it sometimes to see if you can figure it out? Like I know I can't spin a ball. Like when I go bowling, I know I can't. But it looks so cool when the dudes do it on TV that I always like want to try it. And so like maybe one frame out of every time I go bowling, I'll try it again just to see if it makes sense to me whatsoever. Do you still try doing it at all, or have you just given up and said it's not happening?
I've had friends in the past that have their own balls, and I think you have to get a specific ball to spin it. And the balls the stock balls that they have, the bowling alleys are made out of like the wrong material to spin it efficiently, or where it grips and actually goes the right direction. Because I've tried it with the stock ones they have, and it just looks like a bullet going down there, just spinning but not really moving.
Right.
Where I've thrown buddies' balls or like my friends' bowling balls, and they can actually get some spin on them.
It's gonna be awkward. I'm gonna put them on the spot. What number is higher, your average bowling score or Griff's current batting average?
I'm not too sure.
My
average, I think the first time we went here, first time we bowled, I shot my high score, and no one really knew me or knew kind of my bowling. I shot like a 188.
Oh, damn. That's impressive.
And yeah, I didn't even know I was that good. I'm like, I haven't bowled in 2 years, and I was knocking down every single pin. And then I've kind of slowed down.
You teed it off from there. That was the high point. You should have been trying to hustle everybody that night. You should have been like, "What is this bowl thing?" That's not bad.
Everyone's just like, "What are you up to?" And I'm like, "I haven't bowled in 2 years." And then the next like 10 games after that really showed.
There you go. Now we believe you.
I haven't.
Right.
Yeah.
At _Ethan A is how you can follow him on Twitter. And remind me, you're on Instagram. It's at Ethan. Or you tell me, what is it on? Are you on Instagram?
I am. It's a little challenging because there's so many Ethan Andersons in the world.
That's true.
And I got to Instagram a little late.
Hey, bro,
so
I'm Glenn Clark. I know.
It's _Ethan.Anderson_. All
right.
That's the most basic one I could find.
Give him a follow there. Ethan, it's great to catch up, man. Awesome to see you thriving to start the season. May that continue moving forward, and look forward to doing it again. Thanks so much for hopping on with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Ethan Anderson, Orioles catching prospect, with us here on GCR. We come back in. Mike Silver was embedded in the Ravens draft room. What did he learn? We'll talk to him next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
This is Stan the Fan. You know we talk all the time about our O's stepping up in the big moments, delivering when it matters most. If you've been injured in a car accident anywhere around Baltimore, that's your big moment, and you need someone who delivers. That's why I'm here to tell you about Warnken Injury Lawyers. They fight for Baltimore families every single day. Insurance companies play games. Warnken plays to win. So call 443-RESULTS. That's 443-RESULTS, or go to warnkenlaw.com. When you need results, it's right there in the number, 443-RESULTS.
Your car is more than just a ride. It's an investment. At Leading Edge Auto Body in Mount Washington, we've spent over 20 years perfecting the art of repair. From high-end imports to your trusted daily driver, we handle all makes and models with elite precision. Our team holds the highest honors in the industry, including ASE Master, iCar Platinum, and specialized aluminum certifications. We make it easy with free towing, pickup, and delivery, because at Leading Edge, customer satisfaction comes first. And remember, with insurance, it's your car and it's your choice. Choose the experts. Leading Edge Auto Body. Quality you can see. Service you can trust. Go to leadingedgeautobody.com today.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, costasin.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bill Ordine dives in on how different Preakness will be, temporarily at Laurel Park, and then long-term once it returns to Pimlico. Also inside, Luke Jackson learns more about what Trey Hendrickson will bring to the Ravens. And Karuga Koinange looks at how Samuel Basayo is influencing the Orioles' international signing efforts. Press Box is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR. Yeah, news this morning. It's not a center, but the Ravens have brought in another free agent, and it's a familiar name, Calais Campbell, returning to Baltimore, as first reported by Adam Schefter, signing a 1-year deal. Calais Campbell is going to turn 40 in September. Yeah, that's correct. Before the season begins, Calais Campbell will turn 40 years old. And yet, he's going to continue playing in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens this season. Now, and we're about to bring in Mike Silver to talk about the Ravens and the weekend he had in the draft room. I'll just say this about Calais Campbell. I know I'm supposed to say, what could Calais Campbell possibly have left at the age of 40? But I'm pretty sure I said that when the Ravens signed him the last time, and that was 6 years ago. So I think at this point I'm just going to say maybe Calais Campbell can really play until he's 100 years old. I don't know. He just appears to be some sort of freak. But yes, the Ravens do indeed sign Calais Campbell to a new 1-year deal as he will return and give them some depth with some questions with Nnamdi Madubuike. Let's talk a little bit more about the Ravens. As I mentioned, our next guest was embedded in the Ravens draft room over the weekend. Wrote a great piece for The Athletic. He is longtime NFL writer, Mr. Mike Silver, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Mike, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you as always. I guess let me start real quick. At this point, there's no way that I can doubt Calais Campbell based on his age, right? Like, he's just, like, not human, correct?
Well, you're talking to someone way older than Calais Campbell, first of all. So, no. And, yeah, I mean, he is a mountain of a man, and it doesn't surprise me that if somebody at that position is going to play into his 40s, that it would be Calais. He's a giant. He's got one of the lowest voices of all time.
That's true.
And he exudes a great calm about him, and he does the dirty work. So, yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. You know, I knew the Ravens had some more moves in them post-draft. I think they may poke around on some centers, but that's a very logical thing for them to take a flyer on.
Mike, I wanted to ask you about because I don't think anybody in Baltimore is down on the Ravens drafting Venga Ioane, right? Like, how could you possibly be? He absolutely looks the part. He checks every box that you want in an offensive lineman. You know, the only thing you could possibly say is, can you take a guard that high in the draft, even if they're really good? But it was interesting to me measuring Venga being the Ravens guy and how long we thought he was the Ravens guy versus your, like, what you said in the story about their willingness to trade back and maybe liking some other guys and perhaps risking that it wasn't going to be Venga that they were going to end up drafting. Can you kind of walk me through, like, how we juxtapose the fact that it was always Venga, they definitely wanted him, versus, yeah, but if it didn't work out, they would have been all right with that?
Well, the teams that do this well, and I would certainly count the Ravens, you know, very high on that list, but, you know, they don't just, you know, unless it's, you know, a generational quarterback or something, you know, a massive area of need and you're drafting really high, those teams that are good at it just, you know, have a board and they have a lot of scenarios and they try to prepare as much as they can going in, and then they are kind of nimble when it actually happens. So it's not that they didn't love Venga. It's just, you know, they kind of had a cluster of people that they would have been really happy with at that spot. You know, Bain was a guy who fell, and you know, he was then in that group. Venga was the last remaining lineman because the two others had gone, you know, before them. They loved the tight end Sadiq, and you know, those two receivers who went real early, and Tate and Tyson. So you know, once they had kind of done some legwork, like, hey, a bunch of those guys are there at 14, and we think we can get back a little, and we're going to end up with one and get you know, additional picks. We are interested in that. So when they called that team back once on the clock after the Simpson pick by the Rams to kind of re-engage, I'm not convinced they were definitely going to do it, but you know, to get the talks back going, that team was then saying, hey, we've gotten some new information. We're not doing that, but we will do this. And, you know, this, not surprisingly, was a worse deal for the Ravens. So they said no and happily made the pick. So, you know, I think we get bugged out by this is their guy, and we lock in on these mock drafts, and it has to be this guy. A bunch of people said they were going to take him in a mock draft. I think in real life, it's more like, man, we like a lot of these guys, and we're going to see how it plays out. And if we see a bunch of them relatively equally, we might get some capital and use that capital later or in next year's draft or whatever.
Mike, can you, because we always see like the sort of sanitized version, the produced version that the teams will put out of how the picks go, but like I'm fascinated by okay, so you get to the point where they're on the clock. Is there, you know, like someone in the room who feels really strongly about Bain and is pushing for it? Is it someone in the room who feels really strongly about Sadiq and is pushing for it? And then the Ioane camp? Or is it really, hey, we made the board. Ioane's the guy that's at the top of the list. There really is no conversation here. If we're picking, we know who the guy is that we're picking.
Well, it's funny. I've been in a lot of draft rooms before, and sometimes it's not nearly as dramatic as anyone would think. I've also, you know, I was there when Michael Sam got drafted, for example. That was dramatic. You know, and last year I was in the Jaguars draft room and the Travis Hunter thing. That was really cool. But, you know, there have been plenty of times where it's very businesslike. And, in the Ravens case, obviously with Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh working side by side for those years and Ozzie before him, that's a different dynamic. But I thought it was cool that Eric DeCosta told me that he heard a lot of conviction from Jesse Minter about Venga and Jesse and his assistants. So, that kind of went into his thinking, like, my coaches really want this guy. And it's cool that, we all think Jesse Minter, well, he comes from the defensive side. He would definitely want the edge rusher. In this case, he was just so excited about the guard that helped, Eric make a decision. And usually when these things happen, they've done a lot of legwork. They might call in a scout or a position coach to kind of give one final assessment, but usually everybody ends up saying, okay, guys, are we all in? Yep, it's a Ravens pick, and go. So, I would love sometime and I've said this to coaches and players of various size, but I'm like, if someone literally would stand on the table one time, it would be the most awesome thing ever, because that gets tossed around figuratively. But I remember Steve Keim, when Steve Keim was a Cardinals personnel guy before he became the GM, talking about standing on the table, and I'm thinking, if Steve Keim literally stood on a table, he's huge.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I would fear for that table, right? So, but yeah, no, I think the cool thing about the Ravens to me is just they've been doing it for so long and they've been so good at it. And to Eric's credit, he's following, an all-time great in Ozzie, who's, by the way, still hanging out in the room. So, no pressure at all to be good. But, I know they feel good about it. I'm not a talent evaluator, but I thought the process went pretty much the way they wanted.
Mike Silver from The Athletic is with us here on GCR. Mike, you mentioned that, like, I think all of us are looking at the center position and saying they kind of have to do something. And Eric has said that since the draft, that, like, hey, they need to explore options because they have very little experience right now on the roster at center. But that part I think is interesting to me too. Like, do you hear them bring that up as the picks are coming? Like, hey, we don't have a center. Do we need to maybe look at this guy or value? Is it as simple? Like, obviously they stayed true to the board because they didn't at any point say, hey, we just have to draft a center here. But, like, do you hear that? It's the one area that appears to still be a hole coming out of the draft. Is there conversation? Is anybody in there like, hey, man, we got to talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, you're always kind of playing that, you're always kind of living in that world. Like, well, we love this guy, but can we get him here? And we need this, but what if we do this? And, to their credit, I think when they got to that second round pick and there was an edge they really, really liked. I mean, for all the people who say, well, how can you pick a guard that high? The position's just not that valuable. Well, let's flip that. Edge is so valuable and so hard to get once you get past, a certain point without, some warts or red flags or whatever. Usually, Max Crosby would be an obvious exception when he got drafted too soon. Yes, maybe. But I mean,
thanks for the reminder, Mike. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. No, I mean, trust me. I think Ravens fans are ending up like no one's. It would be the Raiders. It would be too soon for. I think. But I just I think they smartly said, "Wow, we really like this edge. We have a high grade on him. Edges are going to be, not happening after this. We got to do it." Now, could they have aggressively traded back in to the second to try to get one of those two centers that they like to, I think went, pretty quickly, one after the other, pick, in the second round. In retrospect, maybe, but it caught them off guard a little bit. They were just kind of like, wow, these guys went a little higher than we thought. But, you got to be able to live with that. And you can't, it's one thing when you're a team and you have no answer at quarterback and you're going into a season. Then like you're, thinking about maybe listing your house in a few months. But when it's a center, you kind of trust yourself like, okay, we got some guys in here who could maybe do it. They took the guy in the 7th round who's played some center, but as a guard, could he maybe do it? And we still have, we still have the ability to, go get one via trade if it comes to that point. So, if anything, I would say maybe in free agency they should have, in retrospect, investigated it a little more. But I give organizations like the Ravens the benefit of the doubt usually because they have been so good at putting a roster together for so long.
Mike, there was so much great stuff in this story, and Eric DeCosta's history as a wrestling fan I enjoyed a great deal. But the one thing that I do wonder about, and I want to say that I've talked to Eric about it, but like a lot of conversation when you fire a head coach, and I know that was part of kind of the tumult that he's been through this year, is that it shifts the spotlight over to you as a general manager in the front office. Like, okay, we made the decision that the coach was the one that had to go, but if problems were to continue, then you become much more the one that everybody looks like. Did you sense at all that they're feeling that? Obviously, Steve Bisciotti went out of his way to be effusive of his general manager, but of course an owner is going to do that when that's his general manager. Just being around, did you sense at all that maybe there is a feeling of pressure from this front office after the season they had a year ago?
I mean, I didn't sense it, and my understanding is that Steve was the driving force, if not the only force, in terms of firing Harbaugh, who, by the way, that's like the greatest firing ever. Hey, man, you're fired. Oh, cool. I have 47
everyone
teams
wants me, right?
trying to hire me immediately. Like, I wish, someone wants to fire me and that could happen. I'd be like, sweet.
Yeah.
But just kidding.
Write your own check. Whatever number you want and whatever power structure you want, you can have all of it.
Yeah. It's amazing. But, I know, my understanding is that, Eric was kind of shook by that. And, it happens in football. Does it put more pressure on him? Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's always pressure, right? I mean, following Ozzie. But really, when you have a transcendent quarterback, there's a ton of pressure during that time, and it's good pressure. You'd much rather have it than not. That's how you get your name up in the Ring of Honor if you're a coach or a GM. Usually, you got one of those guys. But we judge more stringently. Brett Favre won one Super Bowl with the Packers and went to two. Aaron Rodgers won one and went to one. You look back and go, man, how, that is that's an underachieving state of affairs. Josh Allen has been to none. You saw what happened after the season. Lamar Jackson has been to none. And these guys are that good.
Yep.
So I think that's really what it is to me. They've got this rare jewel. There may be some, complications that come with that in terms of like, you got to start practice a little later or whatever the stuff that's come out, but you still got one of the absolute greatest quarterbacks of this era. So figure out a way to get us to the promised land.
All right, so now we shift focus. I can tell you're very excited about the idea of there potentially being replacement refs in the NFL this season.
Well, I see. So I am old, and so I'm not sure how many of your listeners remember just how bad it was 15 or 14 years ago when we had the Fail Mary, which was the culmination of a bad stretch. But I vividly remember because I became a meme, among other things.
Yeah.
And, trust me, I love myself, so it was fun. But it was also not fun for football fans. So what happened was it had been building and culminating before the Fail Mary the night before with a Ravens-Patriots game on Sunday Night Football where the refs and it wasn't just that the replacement refs were making bad calls. They were getting bullied by coaches and players, and it was, players make their living on intimidation. They were preying on the weak, and they were these people were just overmatched. And so John Harbaugh at one point got a personal foul in that game, and then after the game, Justin Tucker kicked a field goal. It was one of those that went up over the upright, so it's not conclusive. They said it was good. It was a short field goal. It's debatable whether it was actually good. Bill Belichick predictably reacted, with extreme happiness and pushed the ref. And I remember seeing Belichick push the ref, and I was like, okay, this is it, man.
It's over.
Something's got to
Yeah.
break. It's too much. But then the next night I was in Seattle, and I had a dinner date with Marshawn Lynch for after the game. Wasn't even covering the game. I'm like, cool. Went down on the sideline, the opposite sideline at the end. Ball goes up, and something weird had clearly happened. I didn't get a great view. I streamed onto the field. I saw Aaron Rodgers. I know him pretty well. I knew he was irate, and I kind of put my arms out and said, what the F just happened, right into the Monday Night Football camera, it turned out. And my phone started blowing up, and then it became a meme and a T-shirt and got spoofed by South Park. And there were all these memes of me doing the WTF pose, and it was like, Tom Cruise on the couch, or, scenes from history, where you go, what WTF? And my favorite one, weirdly, it was just me on stage with Nickelback doing that. It was just like,
that would be the appropriate response to Nickelback. Actually.
I thought it was a nice touch.
That is a really good one. Yeah, hopefully they get that figured out, but otherwise it's going to be another major. I mean, we always like everything the regular refs do so much. Now
it is amazing. Like, it's kind of like, after 9/11 and everyone was like, oh man, no one's ever going to say a bad thing about a cop or a firefighter again. And like, that kind of lasted for a second with cops, but like, this was the next week. I was already going to Green Bay to cover their game against the Saints, and so, of all the fans that had felt it, the Packers had been robbed of a win 6 nights earlier. So I'm standing on the sideline before the game, and the regular refs come through the tunnel, and they get this massive ovation, and they kind of wave to the crowd. I'm like, I never thought I'd see this. Now fast forward to 7 minutes to go, tight game.
Yeah.
Darren Sproles fumbles on a kickoff, and the refs had blown it dead, and the Packers don't get the ball, and the crowd is chanting, refs still suck, refs still suck. And I'm like, okay, we're back.
Yep. It is a good feeling when we get the return to normalcy. That's the way it works. At Mike Silver, that's how you follow him. And, of course, The Athletic is where you see all of his stuff. We've linked up the story if you missed it about his weekend in the draft room. Mike, it's great stuff, man. Really appreciate taking the time for us. Let's do it again real soon, all right?
Yeah, totally appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Mike Silver with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time. Hey, don't forget, every Monday, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson, they're talking baseball with you. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan's show is brought to you by Warnken Law and the Costas Inn, with two great locations, the original in Dundalk, the new one in Timonium. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website. Everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland you can find at CountySports.zone. 4 teams right now in the MIAA conference that have either 1 or 2 losses. So still a lot to be sorted out before the regular season is over, which actually I think is this week. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com.
I guess we'll do the quick one because I got a long one that I like that I do every year. Usually following the draft. But this was going around yesterday. Since 2000, someone ranked all the power conference schools who have had the most losing seasons since 2000 college football.
In college football?
Yes.
The most losing seasons.
There's 2 teams tied with 21 losing seasons.
I'll assume Indiana is still very high on that list.
Indiana has had, sorry, there's 3 teams with 21.
Okay.
3 teams with 21 losing seasons. And then there's also 4 teams that have only had 1 losing season. Now I realize I'm making it a little bit longer.
Christ, man. Rutgers.
That is your guess for a losing season.
Yeah, I think they've only had 1.
No, they're in the top 7. They've had 16 losing seasons.
Maryland.
Great program. Maryland has 15 losing seasons.
Kansas
has had 21 losing seasons, tied with Indiana and 1 other.
Vanderbilt.
Vandy, Kansas, IU.
Okay.
Losingest program since 2000.
Now the fewest?
Yeah, most winningest programs, or at least based on seasons.
Ohio State.
Ohio State has only had 1 losing season since 2000.
Alabama.
Alabama has had 3.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the early like Century, we don't really think about a lot.
Right.
Clemson?
Yes. Clemson has only had one losing season.
Georgia?
Georgia has only had one losing season.
Oh, boy, now. Somehow it's USC.
No. USC.
I guess they had really bad seasons recently. That's true. I was just trying to think of losing.
Yeah, I'm trying. I can't.
Like
remember.
even like a bad season at USC tends to still be like 7-5.
Yeah, I mean they're like Alabama. They've had 3.
Right.
They've been mostly winning.
LSU.
LSU has had one losing season.
Book it, Dano. Let's get Tubular. I got to get out of here. I'm going to show up. In like
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
Of course, it's a busy day when I need to get out of here. There's lots on Tubular. Orioles, Astros, doubleheader, Game 1. Peter Lambert and Chris Bassett. Then Game 2, Lance McCullers Jr. and Brandon Young, both on Masson. Big Ten tournament, Hopkins, Michigan at 3, Penn State, Maryland at 6 on BTN. Flow Sports for Monmouth, Towson at 4 in the CAA tournament. Towson's hosting, so after that, Stony Brook, Drexel at United Stadium at 7. Patriot League women's tournaments down in Annapolis, Bucknell Navy at 3, and then Loyola Army at 7 on ESPN+. America East tournament, UMBC Albany tonight at 7 on ESPN+ as well. NBA playoffs, Knicks Hawks game 6 at 7. Nuggets Timberwolves game 6 at 9:30 as the Knicks and the Timberwolves try to close out those series. And then on NBCSN, Celtics 76ers, Game 6 at 8 as the Celtics try again. Stars Wild, Game 6 at 7:30. Oilers Ducks, Game 6 at 10 on TNT and True TV. Everything else, GlennClarkRadio.com.
The Vanderpump Villa Season 3 reunion.
Hell yeah, brother.
On Hulu. That's tonight. Hacks, new episode of that. And then the Man on Fire remake on Netflix.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, that's with Yahya Abdul-Mateen. The second.
Got it.
It's a series, though, on Netflix. This time.
Sure.
Yeah. Next. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks today to...
I couldn't remember what chef show you watch. Not Master Chef.
Chef.
That's last night. Not Next Level Chef.
No, not Next Level
We do have a new episode of that tonight, though.
Okay. Thank you.
So check it
Appreciate it. Thanks today to Chandler Rivers. Thanks also to Mike Silver. Thanks to Ethan Anderson and Patrick Stevens. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the...
Fallon's going to have Olivia Rodrigo and Reed Wiseman.
I would definitely go see that tour.
All
my
the
God.
other astronauts
I'm going to be
as well,
really
yeah.
angry if they don't make that tour happen.
The other astronauts will also be on there.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Off tomorrow. Again, join me between the games today at WBAL. And then the Bat Around, of course, and Stan. And we'll be back on Monday. Anything?
Stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore Orioles, Costas Inn, Baltimore Area High's Dairy Stores, Leading Edge Auto Body, Warnken Law, 1-800-GAMBLER, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Cruise Maryland, CountySports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go Birds again. Go local college lacrosse teams.
Go
Duke
Towson.
sucks.